So I finally got to watch a movie that I heard for years that was so bad and so racist and so horrible. This movie allegedly is so bad that, Disney won't release it. They won't do an update. They won't do a remake, anything like that. Song of the South. So I finally watched the movie and I actually liked the movie. I actually enjoyed it. And I'm black, go figure. My mother actually watched this movie when she was younger and liked it as well. So I said, you know what? I'm gonna go give it a chance. I actually found a copy on Amazon. Okay. So let me give you a little backstory. Song of the South is a 1946 American live-action animated musical film produced by Walt Disney and released by RKO Radio Pictures. It is based on the collection of Uncle Remus stories as adapted by Joel Chandler Harris and stars James Baskett as Uncle Remus. The film takes place in the southern United States during the Reconstruction era, a period of American history after the end of the American Civil War and the abolition of slavery. The story follows 7-year-old Johnny, who is visiting his grandmother's plantation for an extended stay. Johnny befriends Uncle Remus, one of the workers on the plantation, and takes joy in hearing his tales about the adventures of Brer Rabbit, Brer Fox, and Brer Bear. Johnny learns from the stories how to cope with the challenges he has experienced while living on the plantation. The aftermath of World War II, Disney Studios faced a lot of financial problems. Apparently, there was a lack of foreign markets for animated films during wartime, so they were looking for stuff to do, and they were doing live action. And I guess they could do a combination of live action and animation, which was actually cheaper. So, this actually helped them a lot. Yeah, doing live action and a combination of live action and animation was very profitable for them. It was interesting because at that time, Disney actually had to lay off almost half of its employees. So by 1986, Song of the South had actually earned $300 million. It's interesting though, because I don't really get what's so controversial. People said this movie is racist. They said that it shows a watered down, extremely positive version of slavery. And you know what? I kind of get that to some extent, okay? No, you don't have anybody getting whipped in the back. You don't have dogs chasing people down, biting people, mauling people to death. But I feel that's a little unfair. It's a Disney movie, okay? Obviously, you are not going to see that type of stuff in a Disney movie. Honestly, I mean, there are some points there that are a little uncomfortable, okay? Uncle Remus is still a slave for the most part, or at least he's not a person who has full rights, okay? He is lesser than other people. There's actually a scene or two where they talk down to him kind of like a child, all right? That was a little uncomfortable, all right? There's even a scene where there's two young boys who are bullies who actually disrespect him. He really can't say anything to them. So I kind of get that. But I feel like the pros outweigh the cons. If you look at the time period that this movie came out in, okay, I think they actually did. It was very well done, okay, with the portrayal of the main black character. Here, you have a black man who is still, to some extent, has some level of respect. You have an individual who is a mentor to the young children, okay? The one young boy named Johnny is basically dealing with child abandonment to some extent, all right? His father goes off. His father and mother separate. And his father has to go do some work someplace else, all right? He's there with his mother, so he's missing his father. And he actually gets up and runs away at one point. And Uncle Remus actually finds him and talks him into going back home with his family. And he tells him tales of Brer Rabbit, okay? He tells this young boy a lot of tales, a lot of stories, and gets him a lot of life lessons through folk tales, okay? And in fact, Uncle Remus becomes sort of a father figure, a grandfather figure, a parental figure. He provides, guidance for a bunch of young kids because he tells stories to some other kids as well, okay? I felt like he was a very positive character. And for that time period, I think Disney was actually ahead of the game, okay? I don't really feel like they should be ashamed of that movie because if you sit back and you look at a lot of movies, even that came after that, what do you see the black characters being? Gangbangers, drug dealers, thugs, okay? You know, they weren't portrayed as negative characters. Uncle Remus was actually a lot more positive than some of the movies that came out decades later, okay? His portrayal was a lot more positive than some of the stuff that came out years later would have, you know, black or Latino characters just being thugs and punks. So I find it kind of odd that people have an issue with this movie and him. I mean, here you have a black man who's a positive portrayal of a black man being a father figure to young children, to young boys and young girls. And he's trying to be upbeat in adversity, okay? No, they didn't show any, like I said, they didn't show anybody getting mauled by dogs or burned or whipped to death and all that stuff, but you still knew what he was going through, okay? So, and I find that odd, okay? Because Uncle Remus actually guides the young boy Johnny and the other kids through a lot of different things, okay? This movie deals with some interesting topics to me, man. It deals with child abandonment. It deals with bullying. It deals to some extent with racism, okay, prejudice and all that. And it's interesting because, you know, it actually deals with a lot more stuff than a lot of Disney movies deal with. It's not about a princess and a frog. It's not about, you know, trying to get the prince and all that, all right? It's just about a young boy, young kids, you know, coming of age and getting guidance from older parents and learning life lessons, all right? And dealing with bullying and racism and things. And I think one of the characters even is poor. Yeah, I mean, for the most part, I actually liked the movie. I liked all of the characters. I thought it was a pretty good picture. All of the characters was likable. All of them played their roles. I mean, sure. I mean, animation-wise, it doesn't hold up to other Disney movies. You know, back in the day, the animation was good. Now, you watched it now, it probably won't wow you. It's nowhere near as good as stuff that we have today. Or the movies even that came out a couple of decades later from Disney. Okay. I think there is something called a tar baby in a movie that might be kind of offensive. It's only enough for a couple of scenes. You know, like I said, the main character is basically maybe not entirely a slave, but it is around after slavery time. Okay, you might feel like it's a whitewashed version of slavery. Yeah, so I mean, there'll be some issues there, man. Ultimately, I thought it was a good movie. All right. I will say also that the songs in it aren't really that great to me. Besides Zippity Doo Dah, which I actually like, the rest of the songs weren't as good to me. They're not horrible. They're not bad songs, but they're not really as memorable. I do think they actually got an actual African choir or something to do the songs, which actually was a nice touch. Ultimately, man, I like the movie, and I really wish that they would remake this movie. I know Disney will never do it, and we'll never get a remastered version on DVD. That's never gonna happen. But I wish Disney would do the movie, would remake this picture. I enjoyed the movie, I liked it, and I would like to see a modern day version. Okay, I mean, just my thoughts, but I thought it was a good movie, and I think people are too easily offended. I think even Bob Iger said that this movie was slightly offensive. It's not offensive, man. I mean, I hate this day and age where we can't deal with any sensitive subject matter now. I hear that Gone with the Wind is somehow offensive now. I grew up as a kid watching Gone with the Wind. You know, these are the type of movies I watched. I don't think that we should be so weak and so soft, you know, as we become this day and age. We should be able to watch movies that deal with slavery, that deal with racism, that deal with all kinds of subject matter. You know, you hear people complaining and crying about, oh, all we getting is comic book movies. Well, hey, what can you do? You can't do any movies about certain slavery or certain subjects. Okay, all you want is action figures and comic book movies, because anything that deals with a sensitive subject matter, you cry and whine about it. So yeah, I enjoyed this movie. I'm actually gonna watch it again tomorrow, and I'm gonna watch Gone with the Wind as well. So just my thoughts, but I would definitely give this movie a chance. Okay, it's definitely worth it.